Are you kidding me right now? Bron Breakker just caught his mystery attacker red-handed backstage, and what happened next was absolute carnage. But here's what's got me furious, WWE is doing it again. They're taking what could have been a legendary moment and they're potentially ruining it with the same predictable formula we've seen 1,000 times. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. The internet is divided right now, fans are at each other's throats, and some of you are going to absolutely hate what I'm about to say. But you know what? I don't care. Because somebody needs to call this out for what it is. Before I break down every single frame of this insane backstage brawl, and before I reveal why this might be the worst thing WWE could have done, or maybe the best, you better hit that subscribe button right now because things are about to get controversial. Listen up. If you're watching this video and you're not subscribed to Ring Rumble 1, you're making a massive mistake. This channel is where we don't sugarcoat anything. We don't play nice with WWE when they mess up, and we don't hold back our opinions just to make people comfortable. We are the realest wrestling analysis channel on YouTube, and we've built a community of fans who aren't afraid to challenge the narrative, question the booking, and demand better from the companies we support. So right now, and I mean right now, smash that subscribe button, demolish that notification bell like Bron Breakker just demolished his attacker, because we drop explosive content like this every single week. We've got backstage news, booking analysis, fantasy booking, and the most passionate wrestling debates you'll find anywhere on this platform. If you're not subscribed, you're missing out, and I guarantee you'll regret it. Now let's get into this chaos. Okay, let me paint the picture for everyone who hasn't seen this yet, and if you haven't, where have you been? Bron Breakker, the absolute beast who's been hunting for his mystery attacker for weeks, finally got the break he needed. According to reports and footage that's been circulating, Bron was backstage at SmackDown, probably doing his usual routine, when he noticed something suspicious. Maybe it was movement in the shadows, maybe he heard something, maybe his instincts just kicked in, but whatever it was, Bron investigated, and what he found was his attacker preparing for another assault. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how stupid this attacker is? You've already attacked Bron Breakker once. You know he's looking for you. You know he's a human wrecking ball who's going to tear you apart when he finds you. And your brilliant plan is to try it again. In the same building, where he's actively looking for you. This is either the bravest or the dumbest decision in wrestling history, and I'm leaning toward dumb. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The moment Bron caught this person, and yes, we now know exactly who it is, he didn't wait for security. He didn't call for Nick Aldis. He didn't file a formal complaint with our. No. Bron Breakker did what Bron Breakker does best, he absolutely annihilated this person. We're talking about a beating so vicious, so brutal, so intense that it's got people comparing it to some of the most violent backstage brawls in WWE history. The footage shows Bron throwing this attacker through equipment cases, slamming them into walls, hitting them with his devastating spear that looks like it could break someone in half. This wasn't a wrestling match, this was a mauling. This was a man possessed by pure rage, fueled by weeks of frustration, unleashing every ounce of his anger on the person who had the audacity to jump him from behind. And you know what? The crowd is going to lose their minds when they see this. Because that's what we want to see. We want to see justice. We want to see the babyface get his revenge. We want to see the unstoppable force actually be unstoppable. On Bron happened, what, 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago. And we're already at the revenge beatdown. Where's the storytelling? Where's the cat and mouse game? Where's the psychological warfare? Where's the tension that makes this feud feel important? Instead, we get instant gratification, and while that might pop the crowd in the moment, it doesn't create the kind of long-term investment that makes people tune in week after week. Now, some of you are probably screaming at your screens right now. What are you talking about? This is exactly what we wanted. We wanted Bron to get revenge. We wanted to see him destroy this person. You're never satisfied. And okay, I hear you. I understand that perspective. But let me ask you this, what happens now? What's the next chapter of this story? Is it just over? Does Bron move on to something else? Does the attacker disappear for a few weeks and then come back for a rematch? Where's the depth? Here's what WWE should have done, and tell me if you agree or disagree in the comments. They should have had Bron almost catch the attacker. Have him interrupt the attack, have a brief confrontation, maybe get a few shots in, but then have the attacker escape. Create that frustration. Make Bron even more angry because he was this close but didn't get full satisfaction. Build to a proper match at a pay-per-view where the stakes are clearly defined and both competitors have time to cut promos explaining their motivations. But no. Instead, we get the big revenge moment on free TV with barely any build, and now I'm sitting here wondering what comes next. Because if this feud is already over, then what was the point? And if it's not over, then why did you give away such a big moment without maximizing its value? Let me address the identity of the attacker because I know that's what everyone wants to talk about. The person Bron caught preparing for another attack was, and this is going to shock some of you, a relatively newer name to the main roster. This isn't some established main eventer. This isn't a former world champion. This is someone who WWE is clearly trying to elevate by putting them in a program with Bron Breakker. And here's where it gets really interesting from a booking perspective. On one hand, I love that WWE is trying to create new stars. I love that they're not just recycling the same main event talent over and over again. Fresh matchups are essential for the long-term health of the product. But on the other hand, if you're going to elevate someone by having them feud with Bron Breakker, you can't have them look like a complete geek who gets absolutely demolished the first time they have a real confrontation. The way you build a star is by making them look credible. Even if they eventually lose to Bron, and let's be real, Bron is probably going over in this feud, you need to make people believe that this person is a legitimate threat. You need to show that they're intelligent, that they're dangerous, that they're capable of hanging with one of the most dominant forces in WWE. But when the story is, this person attacked Bron from behind, tried to do it again, and got caught and destroyed, what does that say about their intelligence? What does that say about their ability to compete at this level? It makes them look stupid. In-ring ability, the pedigree. He's a Steiner, for crying out loud. Wrestling royalty. And WWE clearly sees him as a future world champion. The way he handled this situation, tracking down his attacker, catching them in the act, and delivering swift, brutal justice, that's exactly what his character should be doing. Bron Breakker isn't a guy who plays mind games. He's not a cerebral assassin. He's a force of nature who destroys everything in his path. So from a character consistency standpoint, this was absolutely perfect. The execution was flawless. The problem isn't what Bron did, it's the timing and the overall storytelling structure. Here's what I think happens next, and I want you to tell me if you think I'm right or completely off base. I think we're going to see the attacker cut a promo explaining their actions. They're going to talk about how Bron Breakker is an entitled second-generation star who had everything handed to him. They're going to claim that they needed to make an impact, that they needed to prove themselves by taking out the biggest, baddest guy on the roster. It's going to be the classic, I did what I had to do to get noticed, storyline. And you know what? That could actually work. If they lean into it properly, if they give this person the microphone time to really express their motivations and make the audience understand their perspective, this could turn into something special. The key is not letting this moment be the end of the story but rather the beginning of a real, intense rivalry. They need to have this attacker, despite being destroyed by Bron, show up the next week with bandages and bruises and double down on their actions. Have them say, yeah, you caught me, yeah, you beat me down, but I'm not scared of you. I knew what I was getting into, and I'm ready to face you head on. That creates a compelling character. That makes people respect them as a competitor. Then you build to a match, maybe at the next pay-per-view, maybe even sooner, but you make it mean something. Put a stipulation on it. Make it a no disqualification match so they can beat the hell out of each other legally. Make it a street fight. Make it a match where the violence is not just expected but encouraged. Give these two the platform to absolutely tear the house down and show everyone what they're capable of. The thing that frustrates me most about modern WWE is that they have all the pieces to create incredible storylines. They have phenomenal talent. They have a global platform. They have the resources to produce the best wrestling content in the world. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, they rush things. They go for the short-term pop instead of the long-term investment. They give away big moments on free TV when those moments could draw money on pay-per-view. And look, I get it. I understand that WWE is trying to make their weekly television as compelling as possible. I understand that they want to give fans reasons to tune in every single week. But there's a balance. You can create compelling weekly television while also building toward bigger payoffs. You can advance storylines without giving away the whole store. This Bron Breakker situation is the perfect example. The reveal of the attacker catching them preparing for another assault. That's great weekly television. That's a moment that makes people talk. Give us emotional investment. Make us care about why this feud is happening beyond just the physical confrontation. That's what separates a good feud from a great feud. That's what makes people remember storylines years later. So here's my final verdict on this whole situation, and I want to know if you agree or disagree. The moment itself, Bron Breakker catching his attacker and destroying them, was awesome. It was exactly what his character should do, and it's going to make for great television. But the timing and execution of the overall storyline leaves a lot to be desired. WWE rushed to a payoff that could have been so much bigger if they'd just been patient and let the story develop. This could still turn into an amazing rivalry if WWE commits to it and gives both performers the time and resources to really flesh out their characters and motivations. But if this is just a one-and-done situation where Bron moves on to something else next week, then it's a massive wasted opportunity. What do you think? Did WWE nail this, or did they fumble the bag? Is this the start of something amazing, or is it another example of rushed storytelling? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I know you have strong opinions. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, share this video with your wrestling friends who need to see this, and subscribe if you want more content where we don't hold back and we tell it exactly like it is. This has been Ring Rumble 1, and remember, stay passionate, stay critical, and never accept mediocrity. I'll see you in the next one.